Now, I must say, a lot of people will be like, yeah, Arsenal are wasting all this money and all that. The thing is, Arsenal have a lot more to do from like a personnel perspective than a lot of the other clubs. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Football Agenda ZA show. As you'll notice today, I'm kind of alone because usually with Adely most of the time I'm main man, but today he's not here. Obviously, I think he hasn't been doing that great health wise, so we're just allowing him some time to recuperate so that he can join us, and the tag team can get to it. But today's episode, right, is about Arsenal. It's sort of like a special episode of the Football Agenda today show. I don't want to call it a rant because it's not a rant. It's more of a providing context, right? I heard from Colin Cowherd today. Like I heard something he said. He said fans are really great with passion, but they're not that great with context. So I want to provide a lot of the context around why a lot of Arsenal fans might be upset or why we're feeling very how can I put this? We're feeling really unmotivated about what the club is currently, right? Cool. Now, a few things I'm going to be speaking about is the team as a whole, Arteta as a manager, and the tactics and the transfers. 4 things, right? Now, let's obviously start off with the team. So one of the main things, because by the way, I also don't want to be one of those Arsenal fans that just points out problems. I don't want to be one of those fans because I feel like those kind of people really they don't provide anything to the conversation around what exactly is going on or how or really explain how it can be solved, right? Cool. So I'm going to obviously provide the solution. I'm going to provide the problem and the solution from my perspective. Now, first one, team, obviously. One of my main issues around the team currently is that the team doesn't have leadership, right? Now, I get it, Aubameyang's the captain, but I've never seen Aubameyang really as a captain on the field. He's more, obviously, he is a captain on the field, but not from a bringing the team up standpoint or motivating the team or dragging the team, or just like shaking the team up when it needs it on the field. He's more of an action-orientated type player, right? He can be part of the leadership team, but not the main guy, right? People can't really look for him on the field because Oba doesn't really speak much on the field. I don't know if you've watched any Arsenal games, but he's not that vocal on the field. His main thing is action. Oba scores goals. And for me personally, unless like a striker is remarkably a gifted leader, I don't understand why you'd make them a striker because I feel like it puts extra weight on them to perform 2 duties, right? Now, a player who performs from a leadership standpoint through their actions doesn't need an extra weight of having the armband on them because they're not going to be focused on what they should be doing. And that's the thing for me with Oba in this past season is that as much as he's like a player who scores goals and all those kind of things, I feel like the armband has weighed heavy on him. And I feel like if they took it off him and they put it into another player, I definitely think the team as a whole would benefit. Now, that doesn't obviously solve the leadership because the next question is like, who wears the armband? And my surprise pick would probably be Tierney. I get it. He's young. He's not a senior player, but that kid has leadership skills. He has leadership skills because every time I watch Arsenal, right? Every time I watch Arsenal, or even when I'm watching like some like bench cam type videos that Arsenal puts out, Tierney is the main guy that's leading the line, that's motivating, that's making sure players are in the right positions. And I know people are probably like, why not Granit Xhaka? Mainly because Granit Xhaka was on his way out of Arsenal. He didn't want to be here. He was on his way out of Arsenal, and then he came back for some reason. Arteta really likes this guy. He came back after that horrendous game against Crystal Palace where like during Emery's era where he threw the armband away. I felt very disrespected as an Arsenal fan when that happened, and I don't forgive when it comes to what he did, because that was like the Arsenal armband is like a gift, bruh. You know, like Tony Adams used to wear it, Patrick Vieira used to wear it, Thierry Henry used to wear it. So for a player to disrespect it like that, for me, it's like, dog, do you understand? Like, I don't care how frustrated you are, right? Everyone gets frustrated when they're doing their jobs, right? Like, you can get frustrated at something, but you never throw your toys out the car just because, like, people are on your case. And for me, that was another example of why his leadership style, it might work great for Switzerland, right, in terms of passion and all those kind of things. But from a club perspective, right, where you have an entire full season where you need to be firstly consistent as a player and also as a leader, he just didn't provide that. Something that Tierney does. Now, Tierney was captain for Celtic, if I remember correctly, before he left. Tierney, I think Tierney is like 23 now. Imagine at what age he was captain. That's proof that this kid has got the leadership tangibles that are necessary to drive a team forward, right? Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, but like he's not necessarily like a senior player. It's his second season at Arsenal, well, third this year. He, you know, why not choose someone who's older? There is no other person that's more experienced, right? Normally, my favorite, captains are usually like center backs, and not just because the center backs are usually the ones that are more imposing or whatever. It's mainly because center backs see the field like throughout, right? They know they can pull strings from a captain standpoint, right? They can shout commands, you know, move up, or move back. They're gonna counter whatever, all those kind of things. And although Tierney runs up a lot, I feel like he's in a perfect position to do that, right? And yeah, like, look, Arsenal has been like needing like leadership for a long time. I think after a lot of the players like Perry Mertesacker or Koscielny left, we kind of were like devoid of leadership. And yeah, like I genuinely think it's necessary. Now, there's one thing that Emery did, which at that point I did not like because I was like, this doesn't make sense. But now I think makes perfect sense. He had a leadership group. And obviously, I think Arsenal also has that like leadership group, whether it's like specific or wherever, but there's specific leaders in the team, right? You know Shaka already, you know Oba, you know, I would assume Thomas Partey is just a senior player, will probably have that leadership position from a central midfield standpoint. I think Saka also has that, but his is more around his credibility as a quality player, right? So I think if we cultivated that a bit more and ensured that a lot of the players were bought into that, I think that would be great. Right now, it doesn't seem like the players have bought into any type of leadership, because when Arsenal are like not playing well, like shoulders drop, bruh. And look, it's one thing for the manager to be shouting commands and stuff at the sidelines, but if the players themselves are not like telling each other, yo, wake the hell up, right? Then that's a problem. And it's in those moments where like there's a free kick against us and somebody in the box is not doing, like, there's no command, right? Like Bernd Leno, zero command. Like, I don't know what's going on with that guy, but zero command. But, you know, so it's that type of like on-field leadership that I think would also allow us to see Arteta, you know, stop micromanaging his players and stuff and allow them more to like, you know, play the game and allow on-field leadership to be the more prominent voice, like overall game plan, right? Cool. So that's the team. That's the main issue that I have with the team currently, lack of leadership. Now, second thing, Arteta. So my issue with Arteta is that besides him being a micromanager and stuff, is that Arteta is so stuck in the way that he wants the team to play that he doesn't realize what team he has, right? Now, Arteta likes certain things, right? Like overall game plans. the team does certain things. There's the roles are very functional. You do a certain thing, and that's your role, right? Now, for instance, when it came to Ben White, signing Ben White for 50 million, right? You'd understand if, like, understanding Arteta's game plan, you'd understand why he would want to pay like 50 million for Ben White. For me, Ben White almost plays the role that John Stones plays for Man City, right? In that he's good at his feet, he can run with the ball, and we saw a glimpse of that with when Ben White came on against was playing against Brentford. He took the ball, he dribbled past one person, and he was tackled. Right, that type of bringing the ball out from the back, NBMB players that are good on their feet. Right, great. Now, the issue is that a player like Ben White can get bullied easily in the air, which happened again against Ivan Toney. Now, when Ben White was at Brighton, he used to play in a back three, but he was the more forward one, meaning that there was two defenders behind him who were like that old school defenders. I think one was Louis Dunk, tall guys that are willing to do the dirty work that he might not be keen on doing, such as, heading the ball constantly, right? You would have assumed that having a player like Pablo Mari would kind of help Ben White, but clearly it didn't, right? So I think for me, it's Arteta understanding the type of players he has and playing towards that system, right? System that benefits them. I think him not doing that has really hurt a lot of the players at Arsenal. It has hurt, well, to an extent, it has hurt Pepe, although I think Pepe's defending has gotten a whole lot better under Teta, but it has definitely hurt Aubameyang in terms of goals because of the way Arsenal builds up, which is very slow, and it's so slow, guys. It's so slow. And when that type of build-up doesn't have a specific type of player to take the ball from the defense into attack, a player who doesn't just sit in the half spaces, but also is willing to track back and run with the ball, then it kind of falters, right? So look, for instance, in the Brentford game, what Arteta tried to do was make sure that Emil Smith-Rowe played that role of taking the ball from the defense to the attack. But it didn't work out great because Emil Smith-Rowe is, as much as he's capable of doing that, he's more effective in the half spaces where he can run at a defense or whatever. But when he's running from deep, from the halfway line, it means that he's taking up space and he's not getting into the positions that are good for him as a player to, have the last pass that passes to Oba, or have the last pass that passes to like a Martinelli or whatever. So I think in that context, having specific players that are not in the team, it means that you have to adjust. Something that I haven't really seen much of Arteta do. I mean, in the early beginnings of his tenure at Arsenal, like the first 3 months or so, he was playing with like a back three, I think. Playing with the back three. Because I think then he understood what type of players he had. And I think when he came in, that's when like Oba was still, he was still in the groove. Obviously, a lot of things happened for Aubameyang in the past season, but I still think he could run behind the defense. He could dribble a bit here and there. I'm just remembering games from like Chelsea that in the FA Cup, or just like those type of games when Aubameyang had the freedom, and in those games, Arteta wasn't sticking to his like preferred playing style, but he was working with what he had, right? And I feel like he needs to do that a lot more this season if he's going to get the best out of these players, because a lot of these players are like they're Arsene Wenger type signings, right? Especially like players like Aubameyang, for instance. Those are players that play really well when they get, when the ball is free flowing. You never wanted to see, like, well, opposition never wanted to see an Arsenal that was free flowing, because at that point, like, the goals could come from anywhere because the movement was so good from the players. Aubameyang's movement is really good when he's playing off the shoulder, right? Because he can easily like be here 1 second, the next he's not, he's scoring a goal. And I think Arteta just needs to, try and accommodate Aubameyang a bit more. I mean, it's great that you want to have a full team play in a certain way, but when your top goal scorer is not scoring, that's a bit suspect. And it's not like this top goal scorer had like one season where he was like really good. This man has had good seasons since the days of Saint Etienne when he was playing in Liga, all the way up to when he played for Borussia Dortmund, and his first 2 seasons at Arsenal, he was really good. So for me, it's like, bruh, Arteta is a new manager. How are players not playing well in his system, and people are blaming the players instead of looking at the manager and saying, why aren't you, bringing out the best in these players? If Messi is not playing well in the system, in the PSG system, I'm looking at Pochettino. I'm like, this man has a proven record of being really good at assists, at goals. Suddenly, when it comes to you, he doesn't. Look, not a mathematician, but 1+1, obviously. So yeah, man, that's it for me from Arteta standpoint. I don't have a lot of to critique when it comes to Arteta besides that, because I genuinely think Arteta tries and puts the best team on the field. I think a lot of things have also saved him in his short career at Arsenal, such as the inclusion of Emile Smith-Rowe when we really needed like a number 10 who was going to play up front and be sort of like a dynamo, because like Smith-Rowe is not a natural number 8. He's not like Odegaard is more of an 8 because he tracks back and he does this and that. And obviously also ESR does the same thing, but in the final third, I think ESR confuses the defenders a lot more. He might not score a lot of goals, but he does a lot more from a movement standpoint. And at that point, when we were like in the middle of the season last year, before the January transfer window, we definitely needed a player like Emile Smith-Rowe, and that really helped Arteta because it was kind of looking late for that man, bro. It was looking bad. It was looking bad. So yeah, man, I definitely. I'm not Arteta in, definitely. I'm personally Arteta out. I think this job is a bit too big for Arteta because Arsenal is a big club, bro. Like, it's really crazy for me how Arsenal has a rookie CEO, a rookie director of football, and a rookie manager. Which means all these people are learning on the job, bro. You'd never see that at like a Barcelona, a Man United, or even a Chelsea, bro. And Chelsea also work as a club, but you still never see that. There's a lot of consistency in the back room. Arsenal have none of that. We literally shipped out our entire like backroom staff like a few. When Emery left, that's when the others followed too. That was even post even Gazidis left. So there's been a lot of dysfunction in the Arsenal like backroom, and that I think that also has shown in the way we're playing and the way in the people we're signing and all those kind of things. But I'll get to transfers now, right? So yeah, that's it on Arteta. I hope he starts. I genuinely feel like when Arteta's team starts playing the way that he wants to, they'll start performing a bit better. And when Arteta has the pieces that he needs, right? But currently, I don't think that he has all of the pieces that he needs. We're still lacking a right back, a proper right back. Chambers is not it. Bellerin is basically on his way out. Yeah, I generally also still think we're lacking the type of striker that Arteta wants, because Arteta doesn't want like a normal striker like Oba, right? He wants a false 9, but not a central mid or a central attacking midfielder that has attacking duties, but a striker that has defensive duties, right? Sort of a Coutinho. I mean, not saying Coutinho, sort of a Firmino type player. And currently, we don't really have that because Aubameyang is a player that plays on the shoulder. He likes running at players and all those kind of things. And then Lacazette is good with the defensive side, but when it comes to getting in front of goal consistently throughout the season, he's not. So yeah, man, like Arteta. I don't know. I'm hoping to see where we'll be with Arteta before the international break that's coming up soon. That's when I'll judge Arteta in terms of where we're at. But for now, I'm like, I'll see, because that young team against Brentford, it was theoretically on FIFA, it was supposed to beat Brentford, but football is football. It happens. But yeah, again, I think an issue there was a lack of leadership and a lack of just like overall quality from the team. Cool. So that's it on Arteta. Now, let's talk about, let's go straight to transfers, right? Now, Arsenal have obviously, look, firstly, when the season started, Arteta promised, like, I mean, when the season ended, previous one, Arteta promised the fans that there'd be like a lot of like transfer activity, would be doing this, would be doing that. And, you know, a lot of things were promised. A lot of things were promised, but I think it's been relatively underwhelming. Mind you, Arsenal have spent the most money this transfer season. We've spent 129 million, if I'm not mistaken, from the current players that we bought, including the ones that we just signed, Ramsdale and Odegaard. Now, I must say, a lot of people will be like, yeah, Arsenal are wasting all this money and all that. The thing is, Arsenal have a lot more to do from like a personnel perspective than a lot of the other clubs. We have a lot more to do from a Chelsea compared to Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham, all this kind of thing. We have a lot more to build. We need a lot more players that are of quality than a lot of those teams do, because all those teams are generally set, right? I mean, bar a few additions here, and there, they are set. Now, with our transfers, we obviously got in Nuno Tavares and Albert Sambi Lokonga very early. And I think that was really good business. Obviously, the transfer strategy for Arsenal this summer transfer window was to go for young players because there's a project, right? It's a bit sad because if Arteta keeps on losing, he might not be able to finish out his project because fans are not really patient, right? Cool. So we've got really young players in Nuno Tavares and LB Sambi Lokonga. And I think those players are really quality, right? Especially Albert Sambi Lokonga, because he just got into that midfield and he's already doing things that a lot of players that are beyond his age aren't doing yet, right? He's controlling the game. He knows when to go forward. He knows how to defend properly, commits the right amount of fouls that will slow down the game, all those kind of things. So I really like his purchase, but he wasn't supposed to start. He was actually supposed to be understudy for Thomas Partey, who seems to be getting injured a whole lot. So the jury is still out on whether Partey will actually have an impact at Arsenal. I don't know. We'll see. I hope so. When he plays, Arsenal really play well, right? Now, we signed those two players early, but then it was very quiet at Arsenal. A lot of people were saying, yeah, Arsenal are waiting to sell. And I'm like, but they said there's like 250 million in the bank ready to buy a new squad, right? And for me, that was the thing, is I understand that you're obviously trying to balance. You're not trying to buy too much, and you're not trying to buy too much and then end up not selling, and then have a bloated squad where you have to cut out players, and then those players are still earning a wage that you have to pay like each week, and these are huge wages, and it's a drain on the finances of the club. I understand, but I feel like when it's situations like that, when a bid comes in, you don't act like you have the leverage in that situation. Even if you feel like you do, you sort of try and see where the player is at from a I'm trying to leave standpoint, and where the player fits into your team, and you try and fit them into that mode, right? Now, the issue that has happened specifically in the case of Bellerin, who I think was quality many years ago, he's not anymore, is that Arsenal received apparently a few bids from Inter Milan. Inter Milan was the main team. And Arsenal were like, nope, this is not the valuation that we have of the player. we want more. And in that situation, I'm like, bruh, if 20 million comes in for Bellerin, you take that 20 million and you invest in a young right back that will progress throughout the season. A right back that is almost in the ilk of like a Sembi Lokonga in the sense that they're good enough to start, but you bring them in as sort of understudy. I don't know who they'd be understudy to because all our right backs are rubbish. But and then you'd go with your favorite, right? When you're playing away, you start with Cedric Soares. But when you're playing at home or whatever, you either start with Suarez or Chambers because Chambers is more defensive, than Cedric Soares is, right? But then that right back that you bought as an understudy would come in, get a lot more game time throughout the season, and potentially start to command a place as the starting right back, right? In my mind, that was the vision I had for a player like a Max Irons, but obviously that did not happen, or rather, let me say that hasn't happened yet. By the way, Max Irons had a great game this weekend against like Liverpool, which is, the past weekend. So that's still a player I'd really like to look at. His English, he'd come on from relatively cheap and he'd be there for a long time. So yeah, but yeah, so that was a conversation around like transfers. We had this amount of money. It's hard, obviously, like selling players, especially in this transfer climate. But now we're post that game against Brentford. Arsenal seem to have been nudged a bit more, and it sort of frustrated a lot of fans because it's almost like, bruh, we knew that a loss like Brentford was probably going to come because the team didn't look prepared one bit, even in preseason, bruh. We lost against Hibernian. Literally the only teams that we actually beat were the Arsenal fields. I remember watching the Millwall one and the Watford one. I'm like, I don't know. Fields is small. Like it just felt like a training match, like a setup type of match, not like a preseason warm up type match that is relatively competitive, right? Those matches weren't competitive at all. But I also think they didn't even give a true view of how ready Arsenal were. We all kind of knew Arsenal weren't ready, and the match against Brentford kind of solidified that. It was like, bruh, like it's almost like we all looked at Arteta and said, what were you expecting? You didn't do enough transfers at the beginning of the season, and you didn't ship out a lot of these players when you had the opportunity to, and all those kind of things. And you also re-signed Granit Xhaka, who was wanted by Roma, and they had bids and all those kind of things. Roma said, we're willing to pay a certain amount, and you're saying, nah, we don't. And I feel like that was also just like Arteta trying to keep Granit Xhaka because we all know that's one of his favorite players. So yeah, like I genuinely think that like starting now, I mean, obviously today, obviously today, which is Friday, we announced the signings of Martin Odegaard. We announced the signings of Aaron Ramsdale, which I think they'll be very impactful for the club. They'll be impactful for the team, specifically Odegaard, in the sense of trying to bridge that gap between defense and midfield. And, just like a lot of people are trying to judge Odegaard based on his goals or assists. And I'm like, bruh, look at what he does on the field, right? Look at what he does on the field, how he makes the entire team work well together. And that's really all you need, right? You need a player, because Arteta plays football that is based on function, right? A certain position does a certain function. It cannot work if that position or does not have like a really good player that's accomplished at doing that specific thing. And Odegaard fills that role. The signing of Aaron Ramsdale, I think, is very necessary. A lot of people have been going on about the price. We paid like 30 million. Heck, I don't mind. It's not my money. But anyway, even if it was, I'm like, it's necessary because Bernd Leno does not look like he even attempts to train playing from the back. Point Leno and Mohamed Al Nene, same person to me. They're just bad, like at paying from the bad. Besides the fact that El Nene like literally sees the team going forward and he decides to pass back. Ne? Bernd Leno just is like bad. I don't know how many times like in the Brentford game alone he hung um Pablo Mari out to dry. Even at some point Pablo Mari like was shouting. It's like, God damn, Lele, what the hell? You know, what are you doing? Why are you passing like that? Or why are you giving him in rugby we call it a hospital pass? He literally was giving him hospital passes. Like Leno will see the press coming onto his defenders and still pass them the ball. So he's also not decisive in terms of when to pass the ball wide or whatever. And I think Ramsdale, I haven't seen a lot from Ramsdale, but I think if Arteta likes him, he's already sees him as a sort of player that fits into that specific function, right? Playing out from the back and being decisive and having that character. I think also Leno's shoulders have really dropped in a few this summer season. I think he's heard obviously all this like talk around him being replaced or whatever, and I feel like it's kind of knocked him because the goal against that Brentford scored against us. He literally got held. He didn't even do anything to fight him off, to anything. And that for me is a player who lacks the character to be a goalkeeper at a high level. Because for me, I'm like, Manuel Neuer would never allow that to happen. Or players like Edwin van der Sar would have never allowed that. Heck, David Seaman would have never allowed that. You know, big players play like if you're a goalkeeper, then a lot of things are expected of you, especially when it comes to stopping goals going in. But like you have to have a big personality in that position. Like it's necessary. It's part of the game. You're part of the defensive line. You know. So and Leonard just it doesn't really have to say it doesn't really have that anymore for me. Like it's weird. It's weird. So yeah, I think like the last thing I want to chat about is the players, right? I think the players themselves are also partly to blame for. No, sorry, I meant the tactics. Sorry, not the players, but I mean tactics players sort of same thing for me because firstly the tactics are not suited to the players as I've explained earlier, but I think the tactics themselves they force the players to play a certain type of football that the players are not really comfortable with, right? Whether they obviously reasoned with Arteta or whatever, I'm not sure. Because you can just see in how the game is played. It's almost how Liverpool were at some point, cross and inshallah. Because if if you're an opposing team and you're looking at Arsenal, how Arsenal play, we play in specific patterns, right? The ball goes up, 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 and then Tierney, up, 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 and then Tierney cross, back. Same thing. So it becomes easier to press Arsenal. It becomes easier to frustrate Arsenal because you realize that if you allow Arsenal to go towards the channel of Tierney, knowing that there's no one in the box because Arsenal don't have like our players. Even Aubameyang is not that great of a header. Even like who Lacazette is not that great of header of a player. So that's for me also. It's like why do we persist to this tactic? Why don't we try and mix it right? Mix it around. When we see that this type of formation is not working, or this type of play is not working, why don't we switch it around instead of going out wide all the time? Why don't we start playing the ball in the middle or start moving the ball faster? I think that's the thing for me because what we do when we move the ball that slow is like we allow these teams to really move back and to settle in certain positions and they become harder to break down. And Brentford knew that. Brentford were like, if we just become harder to break down, they won't score because their main outlet for scoring is on the left, and that's Tierney. Because right now, at right wing, um, Pepe doesn't necessarily fit the type of right wing that Arteta wants there, right? Saka fits it more because Saka takes on players a lot more. But Pepe, I don't know what's wrong. Pepe is also like an Aubameyang type player in the sense that he either plays off the wings of players or he wants the ball over the top so he can chase it using a great pace. Saka likes to take on players. Like face man to man, he'll take a player on, right? So if Saka would be moved to the right midfield, right wing, that'd be great. But I still want Pepe in the team because Pepe is more of a goal threat than Saka, to be honest with you. Like Saka will provide like a lot of assists, but when it comes to assists and goals, Pepito, Pepito, right? Gotta have that man in there. So yeah, I look, the tactics will get better as the right players are in there. But for now, we don't have the right type of players. The team is still struggling clearly with some of these tactics, like playing up from the back. Um, and yeah, like the players themselves are also, I also feel like the players themselves are also feel a lot like under pressure because they clearly practice these things, right? Because a lot of what's happening, right, it's almost like it's automated. Like the players just like they know what to do when it's a certain situation, which is a good thing because ideally you want that to happen, but you also want that to happen with a lot more freedom, right? And I think that's why Arteta never really like warmed up to Ozil because Ozil floated in and out of the game, but he also floated in and out of positions. You can't really man mark Ozil out of the game because most of the time he's floating and he has a touch, and you think that touch probably is meaningless, but when you look at it from when you rewind, you'll notice that that one touch led to a goal all the way there because Ozil decided, let me flick it on or let me pass it over the top or let me progress the ball or all those kind of things. So, and I think in Arteta's tactics, Odegaard does that. But obviously, Odegaard just came in now. He was there with us for the second half of last season. He's going to be very needed for this coming campaign. But I still think we still need backup there. Hey, like we've got the players for this and that. I still think we need players that play a different style of not too different, but different style of football that can still fit into Arteta's plans. Because what I mean by that is that you need players that come and switch up the game, right? When you decide to switch tactics because a certain style of play is clearly not working, then you need those players to open up defenses. Hence, I'm like a huge advocate of signing Hussein Awa because I'm like, bruh, this guy played at left midfield, he played at central midfield for Lyon, and it's just really quality. So why not have him in there? Why not have him as part of that? Because I mean, what if Odegaard gets injured? What then? Does Arteta persist with his tactics, or does he choose a different type of play? And something we haven't really seen much from him in like end of last season and this season. So yeah, like Arsenal, dude, Arsenal is so stressful. Like people will ask, why do you still support Arsenal? And I think generally it's almost like, bro, who else can I support? I'm like so emotionally invested in this club already. You just want the club to do so well because it's done so well and it generally has the potential to do so well. But obviously, there's issues with the owners, the Krunka family. There's issues with obviously the issues that I mentioned now from a team standpoint, from a manager standpoint, from a tactic standpoint, and from a player personnel standpoint that still need to be fixed. But I do have a lot of like faith that things will come together. Maybe not under Arteta, maybe under a different manager, a more experienced manager. But I do think Arteta put in. You know, it's said when you like when you go out about a project, whatever. It's because sometimes people don't realize just because you start a project doesn't mean you finish it, right? Because you're a really good person for the beginning of the project doesn't mean you'll be the person who will finish off the project at the end. And I feel like that might be the situation with Arteta because like Arteta was very lucky that there weren't any fans in the previous campaign because had there been fans, he'd be more under pressure in order to do certain things. Because when fans boo at the stadiums, they boo because fans are paying, bro. Like at the end of the day, fans are paying. I feel so sorry for fans in like London and stuff because I'm like, guys, you're paying to watch this nonsense. You watch nonsense from players that don't look passionate. They don't look like they're ready to play. Um, some don't even look like they want to be at the club, and some honestly just should not be at the club because I'm like, in just the history of Arsenal, just looking at the players that we've had, they don't even match up from a quality perspective, you know. So yeah, I genuinely think the season obviously just started, but I'll start becoming hopeful when we're like mid-season and we're at the top half of the table, if that's even possible. Doesn't look like it's possible currently with this current manager, but yeah, let it not be mistaken. I remain Arteta out. I remain Arteta out. I'm just good with him as a manager, but I just think the club is generally heading towards the right direction. It's just that it's a frustrating beginning of the process. And, you know, honestly, I don't trust Arteta's process because I'm just looking at how he's already handled players and how he's just dealt with this whole thing. It's been awkwardly ruthless. I don't mind ruthless. Ruthless um is Abramovich firing a Chelsea manager for not winning the Champions League or whatever. That's ruthless. That's necessary ruthless because you were hired for a specific thing. Arteta was just like isolating players at a time where Arsenal were doing so horribly bad, and it made no sense for me. Like star players, Ozil was isolated for a very long time last season when Arsenal needed someone to open up defenses a lot more for our defenders. I mean, for our strikers. So I just don't like the way Arteta has approached everything. For me, in my mind, Arteta is a head coach and not necessarily a manager. Like he seems really good in terms of like positional play and like functionality, making sure that like players do specific things when the ball comes to them, opening up your body, making sure that you're in a certain position or you know all those kind of things. He does those things so, but like from managing a club of the size of Arsenal, I don't know, man. Like he should have like started a club like Aston Villa, like bad. He should have started at a club like Aston Villa, Wolves. You know, build his like repertoire in like the English Premier League, bro. Because from Arsenal, who else do you manage, bro? Because if you go from Arsenal to managing Villa or Wolves, you're immediately just seen as a failure, bro. It's not like you can manage Arsenal and then like you go and manage Man United or Man City or you know Chelsea or whoever at this point in his career. Like right now, after this, after Arsenal, he's definitely gonna go overseas. He can't manage in the English Premier League because anything from lower than Arsenal will be a downgrade. But Tottenham, Aston Villa, I said Tottenham, Aston Villa, all those clubs downgrades. You know, so yeah, man, that's my chat and frustrations on Arsenal from the team to the manager to the tactics to just the players themselves and the personnel that we need, and also the transfers that we've had currently. I wouldn't say I'm too happy at the transfers. I wouldn't say I'm too sad, but I'm quietly confident. Although I will never be quietly confident on Instagram and all those kind of things because I'm here for banter. I'm here for everything. But yeah, man, look, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching another episode. Thank you for all the support down below. Just tell me what you think about Arsenal's start to the season. Is there hope for the team, for the manager? Is there hope? Because a lot of the teams are low-key surpassing us. Leicester City has surpassed us as a club in my eyes because I'm like Leicester have been consistent for at least 2-3 seasons off the back of their title win. So they're shaking things up. Aston Villa is becoming a lot more arrogant. I don't even count Tottenham because they're in the Europa Conference League now, and they just got beat by a team in like from the Portuguese league, like a low team. So whatever. But yeah, man, like it's gonna be a long season. That's all I can say, bro. It's gonna be a long ass season. But yeah, man, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell me what your thoughts are on this whole Arsenal thing. And I'll catch you next time. Hopefully I'll have ads next time. It would be dope to just like bounce around some conversations around him. And yeah, guys, I hope you fixed up your FPL teams. We'll probably have we'll shoot something for FPL next weekend. We just wanted, I guess, the first week to pass by, see where the standings were. But it's kind of looking crazy. Like one of my boys, Petson, is currently at the top, sitting at the top with just like full points. And I feel like he has Salah and Pogba and Fernandes to thank for that. But yeah, so I'll catch you next time. If you haven't joined the FPL, please do. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you haven't like this video, comment below, press the notifications button, tell a friend about a friend. That's me, Zeus, signing out. I'll see you next time. Cheers.